Guys, I get tired. I'm just pre-warning you.
Okay, but also this is your fault.
Yeah, you were 20 minutes late.
I know. I'm so sorry. Guys, on my phone, I feel terrible that I was just sitting here like doom scrolling.
I know. I was like, oh my God, I'm so worried. Where is she? I was like, did she fall in the
We were
shower?
very close to calling Luke.
Yeah, it was discussed.
Welcome to Sisters Not Saints, the podcast where we offer real-life advice from the sisters you've always wanted.
Featuring two real-life sisters, Kristen and Megan, and two real-life sisters-in-law, Hillary and Zoe.
Sisters, not saints. You might think they're saints, but they. Some of them are sisters, two of them have misters. But there's one thing that's for certain, it's their sisters, not saints.
Hey guys, I'm Megan.
I'm Hillary.
Kristen here.
Zoe, still in Memphis.
And still Zoe. But not for long.
She'll be home soon. God, I can't wait. I miss you.
But then knowing Zoe, she's just going to go get another job and leave again.
I won't let her. I'll slash your tires.
I'm never going to work again.
Never.
Good. Thank God.
Yeah, just retire. It's about time.
I'm ready. I'm ready to retire and live in an RV.
How about becoming a podcaster full time? You can do that
Yes.
from an RV.
Would you live in an RV?
I would love to have an RV and travel in it. I don't think I want to live in an RV full time.
So a little secret that a lot of people don't know about Kristen and I is we have both lived in RVs full time. We had a little experiment in minimalism and tiny living.
Yes.
We created a whole tiny living village of RVs. I say whole village. It was just two RVs. It was just the two of us on our dad's property. It's true. It started, I had a third baby in 2019. And after having the baby, I started having some health problems. So I started having seizures, and the diagnosis was so out of the blue that I was told I couldn't be with my newborn alone. I couldn't go up and down the stairs with him. I couldn't be with him unsupervised. I couldn't hold him. I couldn't take baths. I couldn't bathe him. And so I had two kids in school with activities all over town. I had a new baby that I couldn't hold unsupervised. My husband was still working in the office every day at that point. Megan was still working. So all day, every day, it was just me and this baby. And I couldn't drive either. I lost my license for 6 months at least. And they couldn't tell me with the first diagnosis, like when it first kind of became apparent that it was epilepsy, they couldn't tell me that this wouldn't happen again. So they were like, we'll try medicine, but we don't know. You know, it doesn't always work in some people. You may have seizures every day for the rest of your life, or this could be the last one. We just don't know. So Megan and I were in the hospital room, and I still remember the conversation. Yep. Do you remember?
I do.
Because I was like, well, like, what am I going to do? I can't drive my kids anywhere. What do we do? And I said, I know exactly what we do, which let me just start off just by saying.
Such a Megan thing to say.
I was going to say, I'm such a planner, such an organizer, such a Virgo, that it's like, that's what I do. There's a problem. I spring into action. I figure out the plan. And I said, I know what we're going to do. We're going to both sell our houses. We lived about 40 minutes from our dad and stepmom. So I said, we're both going to sell our houses, and we are going to use the money that we get from our houses, and we are going to purchase RVs, and we are going to move them onto dad's property, and we are going to live on dad's property until this gets resolved. He has 15 acres. So when you say property, he had room for us. Yeah. But it was definitely like, wow, that's a bold proposition. It is. And but like at the time, it made sense for us because then we're on property. I'm available to help with the kids and driving. My dad is available to help with kids and driving. And so it just made sense. But yeah, you tell this to people and they're like, you sold your houses. So like a couple of weeks after getting a big diagnosis, you sold your houses and moved into RVs. But we did. I was diagnosed October 1st. And my house was on the market October 17th. And we sold it. And we had RVs delivered, and we set up a whole, it was actually, there was a lot of work that had to be done to get the sites ready because it was a wooded lot where we put the RVs. So we had to level it out, and we put it around this building because we knew having kids, I had 3 in one RV, having kids, they would need a place to play. So I wanted to have like a playroom for them. So we turned this building into a playroom and then also like a laundry room / office, because that was also right when the pandemic was starting. And so James was going to have to work from home. The kids were going to have to do school from home. So we
didn't even know that though at the time though,
Well,
that the pandemic was starting.
Well, then why did we have that office set up? Or maybe that was
after.
later.
Yeah,
Okay,
we had
the
it set up
playroom.
as a kids' playroom first.
Right. Okay. Got it.
Because I moved into the RV December 1st, 2019.
Right.
You were a little bit later.
Our house took longer to
Yeah.
sell. Yeah, that's true. Oh, yeah, because we didn't move until March. We were in the house at 1st.
Yeah. So, yeah, we have experience living in RVs, and it is quite the experience.
Megan, you don't really seem like an RV type of person.
Have you seen our RVs? You saw pictures, right?
Megan's
Yeah.
RV is nicer than any house I've ever been in. And mine was nice too.
Yeah, they were both super nice. It's not like you hear RV and you think like you're going to be roughing it, but it was nice.
Mine had a whole sectional, and it had 2 bedrooms, one of which was a bunk room. It had 2 bathrooms. It was really
big.
nice. It had a very nice kitchen. I felt like it was a nicer kitchen than I have in my house now.
Yeah.
Really?
And it had an outdoor kitchen with an outdoor TV. And then they were like parked next to each other. So we had a fire pit in the middle, and we had a table, and we named the little village Tiny Town. And so we would have like tiny town parties and tiny town barbecues, and we would meet out by the fire pit twice a day. We would roll our little awnings in at the same time every night. Like it was just like a community. I could totally see where people are moving into these
and it happened at a time that I moved into mine in December. Your house, which you were living in Dad's house, and then your house sold. You moved to Tiny Town in March, which you moved into your RV. And then that next weekend is when everything shut down.
True, because it was like first week of March, and then everything shut down.
And everything shut down. So yeah, it was like, I don't know how long we would have lasted outside of a pandemic, but it was like for that start of the pandemic where everybody was home, nobody was working, kids weren't in school at all. It was like just like, what a time to be alive. And it's like
Really
everybody
was.
was quarantined. So because we were on our dad's property, we had like our whole family there.
It's true.
So it was nice because we all just kind of quarantined together.
We had a golf cart. We could just get around the property, zip around, and go visit people. So we would make our little rounds with the kids and like go visit Dad for a little while, and then go visit, whoever was on the property.
Sounds
Jagger
like
was
you were
home.
just living on a resort.
It really, yeah.
It felt
was.
like that actually.
We lived in RVs on a big fancy resort.
Okay, Megan, what did y'all do with the poop situation?
Okay, so that is actually
That's a very good question.
It is, and it's a question that I think that we need to be a little bit delicate about
You
moving
think
into.
so?
Yeah, because you just never know. So we
Delicate.
all
Wait, why do we need
we
to
may
Sounds
have
like
to,
you were doing something illegal.
I'll
Can't confirm or deny.
I'll explain the full story off podcast.
Or you can just explain and cut it out.
okay. We had full RV hookups installed down in Tiny Town. So if you go down to Tiny Town, there's still like if you wanted to bring a trailer out there, you still could and have full RV hookups. There's electric hookups and sewer hookups.
And water. He had water installed, electricity run. We had concrete poured. The driveway was installed to get down there. And what else?
Fancy.
Redid that building, like repainted the inside.
yeah,
and
repainted
everything.
that one.
The interesting thing is you moved down there before I did. You moved in the winter. And you
Yes.
had some really hard times down in the winter.
Yeah, because like
Tiny
in the
Town.
RV, you're on propane is how like your RV is heated. And in the winter, you can blow through propane pretty quickly if you want to keep your RV heated because they're not like meant to live in 24/7. So it's they're
Oh my
harder to
God,
keep.
I forgot
cool,
about
harder
having to go
keep-
get propane all the time.
Yes. So we had like propane tanks we would have to go fill up, and you had to keep an eye on your propane because like they're small tanks for an RV. It's not like a propane tank for your house. So you have to keep an eye on it and make sure you don't run out of propane. And one night, like our coldest night of the year, I ran out of propane
In the middle of the night.
in the middle of the night. And I only knew this because I woke up in the RV. I have like a thermostat in there. It was literally 35 degrees.
Oh my God.
And
so cold.
I know. And so like I was like frozen. And it was like 4:00 in the morning. So I had to like walk up to Dad's house. This was before Kristen was down there. I had to walk up to Dad's house and like hang out in there until the morning. Yeah, it was just it was a wild ride. And yeah, you had to dump your poop every week.
Yeah, you had to know. And you definitely had times that if you left like the toilet lid up, the fumes would come up through the thing. So you knew like when you had to, we had to do something special to it, right? Like we had to do,
you had to like
kind
put
of
like stuff
mixture
down in
and
there to
help it break down or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was a whole journey.
It was a whole journey.
Would you do it again?
Yes.
I would do it again now.
We look back at that time fondly, and I don't know if it was because of the pandemic.
It was just fun. You know, it was so simple because when I sold my house, I sold
Everything.
most of the stuff I had in it. I just didn't have time. I had already moved my kids' schools. I had moved to a different town. And so I didn't have time and I couldn't drive to go back and forth and pack everything. So I had to do it really quickly. And I just sold a bunch of stuff or got rid of it, donated it.
I think our thought process is we thought we would be in the RVs for like a couple of years.
That was the plan. Was like, let's do this for a year or two. And
And so like we sold everything except for anything that was sentimental we put into storage, but we each just had like a small storage unit. But yeah, we sold like everything we owned.
and our houses in a matter of 2 weeks.
And that's why people think like we were kind of crazy, because it's like, wait, so you in 2 weeks sold everything you owned and your houses and moved into an RV.
Yeah.
But thinking about it now, not being the pandemic and the kids being back in school and back in sports and extracurriculars and all that, do you think you would enjoy it now? Like now you've been in a house with your
No.
3 kids and a lot of space.
I think it worked perfectly at the time because
Yeah.
they were a little bit younger. At the time, they were, I guess, well, I had a kindergartner. I had one that was in like the 4-year-old class in preschool, and I had a 3-month-old. And so the 3-month-old, I mean, you can stick those anywhere. He wasn't moving around yet. He just had a tiny little mini pack and play that he slept in, and the boys each had a bunk. And so it was good because they had their own room and their own bathroom. The baby didn't need much space. And then they could go outside and run as much as they wanted. And they had that little building that was
Like a
just
playroom.
Yeah, like a playroom. So all their toys were in there. So when they needed time, they weren't really like playing in the RV. It was just family time. It was like our, cozy time at night together. But other than that, we were outside. But would it work now? I don't think so. Some people, and I got really into this at the time, they do it full time. They go around the country and travel with their kids and homeschool. And I can see where that would be really fun and appealing. I don't know how you do it every day, and especially if you're stationary.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I feel cramped in my own house sometimes now that I've moved back into a house.
But I think also part of it was like, yeah, you feel cramped in your house, but I really believe that it's also because of like your stuff. You feel smothered sometimes by your stuff, because it was freeing to just have nothing than what was in your RV.
It was, because we had like 8 plates, 8 bowls,
Yeah.
no glasses.
Yeah.
I mean, you just literally had the things you need, and everything in your RV served a purpose. It had to serve a purpose. The way you stored it had to be intentional. You had to find lots of different uses for things. So we had less clothes. We just had less everything. It was so much easier.
Yeah, I can see that. It was similar when we lived in New York in our tiny apartment. I had a rule: if I bought anything, I had to get rid of something.
That was our
because
rule
we
in
just
the
didn't
RV
have
too.
space for it.
How many
So-
square feet was your apartment?
It was less than 400 square feet.
See, that's her RV. Our RVs were like 350. So
yeah,
it's
probably about the same.
but yeah.
Okay, well then I can understand that's doable.
Yeah, and it was, and like they're really nice now, because that's whenever because I was staying in the hospital with Kristen whenever she was having like her studies for her seizures, and we were in the hospital for like 5 days. We were like just plotting, planning.
First, we had to even call. We were like, "Hey, Dad, we've got this crazy
Yeah.
idea. Could we both sell our houses and move onto your property?"
But then we had to convince her husband, James, who he didn't grow up, like we grew up camping, so we kind of knew that it could be a luxurious experience if you do
I'm
it right.
shocked y'all grew up camping.
Yeah.
Oh
Sorry, go
no, we
ahead.
always
yeah,
did.
yeah. But so we had to call James, and James was like, "No, we're not living in an RV." And I was
He
like,
had never really been in one.
yeah, so that's what I told. I was like, James, let's go look at RVs. You're not understanding. Like, I think a lot of people think it's like a glorified tent, and it's like most of them aren't nowadays. So yeah, we went and looked at him, and he was like, "Oh my gosh!"
He's like, "Why do we even have a house? These are so
Right.
much nicer."
He's like, "This is way nicer than our house. Let's let's do this."
My parents lived in an RV for 9 months because they lost their house. Well, their house flooded during Hurricane Harvey. And so they had to gut it and remodel, and they lived in an RV in their driveway the entire time. And we stayed with them once in the RV. They actually, at the time, they slept in their gutted house in just like a bed in an empty concrete room.
so that y'all can sleep in the RV.
RV
That
with
was
our
nice.
kids
Oh
at the
my
time.
gosh.
But yeah, I think they probably had like it was nice to be like minimalist for a while, but after 9 months, they were like, no,
Yeah.
we're ready for a house.
I could definitely. We were only in the RV because then the house next door became available. It went on the market, and we were like, "Well, that is the perfect solution.
Right.
This will be great. There's a basement. Megan can stay in the basement. We'll have the upstairs, which is one level, so I won't have stairs to deal with while I'm still dealing with this. We're right next door, so we're close, but it just like worked out perfectly. But we had been planning on staying longer, but I was only in mine for like 3 months, so I could see where, I could see where like a year would be. You'd be done with it.
3 months was probably the perfect
It was the
time.
perfect.
You like didn't have enough
Well-
time to get tired of it, so you just have good memories of
And
it.
Right. And no winter.
And it also, Kristen and I, we look back at this time and compare it to a time in our childhood where we lived in a hotel for a long time.
True.
Well, not a long time, a summer,
3
but
months.
it felt like a long time to kids. And so we always talk about that. It's like the kids are going to grow up being like, remember when we lived in an RV? And that's how it's been our whole childhood. It's like, remember that time our house burned down and we lived in a hotel for 3 months? And it was the best summer.
It was really fun.
Because you were living in a hotel. I mean, have you seen Sweet Life of Zach and Cody? It's like,
Or Eloise.
yeah, it's like, it was literally the best time ever.
It was. Well, and making these big impulsive moves, it's not unusual for us or for our family. So as soon as we rolled it out to the family, like we called Dad first, obviously, to see if it was okay. And he was like, yeah, of course. I'll start working on the property. Do what you have to do. But don't do anything you'll regret. Like, this could work. I can help make it work. You don't have to sell. But if you want to, sure. And then our mom was a little bit like, whoa, hold on. You're uprooting your whole life. You have your nice house. Just consider it before you make this big move. But eventually she was on board with it too.
Yeah.
And we all just went with it. Any other question? I haven't listened to the other podcast about RVs, but what came up in the other podcast?
So in the podcast, they were talking about kind of the rules about where RVs are allowed to park.
Okay.
And
We are familiar with the rules.
I don't really have a true answer, but basically a lot of RVs are parked outside of Dax Shepard and Kristen Bell's house.
Yeah.
And they're really run down and they're rented out by a guy who owns all of them.
Yeah.
And it's legal, but like people think that it shouldn't be legal, that you can't just have your RV parked anywhere you want because like the ones outside his house, like they're doing meth in it. Like he knows they are because like they leave the doors open all night and it's just like 3 guys living in there doing meth.
Well, and that is a problem that we did run into because
It's not legal here either.
well, while our dad lives on 15 acres, where we had the RVs, I mean, obviously we didn't want to be right butted up against his house. So we were out like by his property line, which unfortunately meant we were butted up against like the backside of his neighbor's house. And his neighbor did not like that. He did not like that we set up a tiny town village.
He sent a
people
text
were
when
living
my
there.
RV was delivered. He sent a text that said, WTF, are you going to tell me what's going on over there? It's like a trailer park over there now. And so
Although,
it caused
to
a
be
whole
fair, where
commotion.
that house is still like a
Yeah.
few acres.
Yeah.
from where
there's
your
like a
RVs
full,
were.
at least 2 acres.
Yeah, I mean, I get
Yeah.
it wasn't like the most pleasant thing to look at, but if you drive through the neighborhood, there everybody has an RV parked.
Well, and 2 wooded acres. It's not like
Yeah.
it was even a straight shot.
yeah,
So then he asked us to put up a fence and trees to block it. So we did.
yeah.
So
But
we
he
put up
still
a whole
was never
which the
happy.
fence isn't better to me. I feel like
Right.
it looked better just looking at our RVs looked nice. It's not like they were junky ones.
It was a nice trailer park, okay?
But
Okay, but that is my question, is that a lot of people don't like these like run down RVs and that they can just be parked anywhere
Yeah.
in some places. But I disagree, and I'm so surprised that Dax was saying this because he grew up poor. Like, why? If someone can't afford a house, but they can afford an RV that can't move and it's just parked somewhere, like, why can't they live there?
I think because there are septic tank issues that you have to work around, or like the
No, you couldn't get it hooked up and pumped out.
Yeah.
I mean, I get what you're saying. Okay,
But also, was he saying that it's legal? Because I think the vibe that I got from that episode was that it's not legal, but it's just so far down on the list of issues that they can deal with. Like, it's like, it's Los Angeles, so there's drugs
Yeah.
and rapes and murders, and nobody's worried about the people in their RVs on the side of the road.
But I think it should be legal. I think if an RV wants to park on the street, why can't they park there? If it's not blocking too much of the street.
It would get so icky.
Well, and it is.
Well, can we just step back a little bit and say that what we're referring to is an episode from Dak Shepard's podcast, Armchair Expert, but it's from David Farrier, and they talked about RVs and the RV culture in America. And that's kind of what we're referring to, is what they talked about in that episode.
So tune in after you listen to our episode.
Flightless Bird by David Farrier. It was a Flightless Bird episode,
Yes.
right? Okay.
Yes, it
Yeah.
was. Mhm.
So I think there are public safety concerns.
Yeah, because think about how you would feel. You live kind of like out in the middle of nowhere, but streets are still public property. So how would you feel if at the end of your driveway, all of a sudden 4 RVs pulled up and a band of homeless men just live there now?
Or people doing meth.
Yeah, because it is your
wouldn't love
property.
So how would you feel,
No,
Zoe?
it's not my property. I mean, it would be on the street. I wouldn't love it.
But they, I'm sure, make their way onto your property to pee and wander and explore and
Well, that
stretch.
would be different.
Yeah.
Well, and if you had kids too, and it would make you feel uncomfortable about having someone who's possibly dangerous being that close. I mean, I do feel
But
very
why
like
is that different from a
judgy.
neighbor?
Well, it's also a little bit more dangerous too because you have propane attached and they're very easy to blow up.
So if it was a rich person in a nice RV, they could park.
No, I'm saying
At
any
the
RV.
house?
Like our RVs were like a huge risk as well. Like you had to have the windows open when you had the heat or you were cooking or any kind of propane was being used because it can so easily like blow up basically. I mean, they are just more dangerous.
Yeah, but they still are used across the country.
They are, but I also just think that
Out in the woods though.
well, and I just think that
No, people use them to travel with and to live
Yeah.
in.
yeah, and you should park it in a campground.
Yeah, somewhere where it's approved, where they have the facilities to maintain.
Yeah, because if this goes too far, there's just going to be
Anarchy.
RVs on the side of the road everywhere you go.
Well, and it is like a snotty elitist mentality, but people who live in a neighborhood who want, for whatever reason, they move into that neighborhood, maybe because they like having their cookie cutter homes right next to each other, or because they like having a farm with a bunch of acres. They would say, like, I bought this property because I like the neighborhood and the view, and having RVs right outside your house would be like, if you knew that was going to be there, you wouldn't have bought a house in that
Right.
location. It
But then
affects
you
your
can sell your
property
house.
value. Yeah, but then you're having to move because of that.
well, and can you sell your house if there's RVs set up right
it
outside
would bring
of it?
your value down.
That I hate this excuse. I hate when people talk about this, about bringing the value down, and like this isn't that all what gentrification is? It's like just pushing out other people. Like,
Well, yeah, I
white
think
people don't want.
what you're upset about is the housing market in America, and that there's like no affordable housing anymore.
Yeah, and if people can afford an RV, let them park it wherever they want.
Well, I agree. If they can afford an RV, let them park it
Not
and
in
live
front
in
of
it.
my house.
But here's the problem is that it's actually very hard to live out of an RV. Like there are very few places that will let you park and live out of an RV. We
That's
learned
what she's
this the
saying.
hard
She
way.
wants to be able
Well,
to
but I
park
agree. I think there
anywhere.
do need to be more opportunities for that, but I don't
Yeah.
think everywhere. Like I think maybe there should be RV communities where you can buy a lot, like $20,000, buy a lot, have your RV set up there, and then live there.
Well, but also I'll say this is that RVs are not that cheap for a nice one.
Some are though,
But yeah,
No, but
and cheaper than a house.
yeah, cheaper than a house, but
obviously, no. The whole podcast was about how you can get it from between $5,000 to $5 million. So, like,
yeah.
if somebody can afford for $5,000 and that's their house for the rest of their life, great.
I'm
Like,
telling you right now, whatever your RV you're getting for $5,000, you're not going to want parked outside of your house.
And it
but
won't
if
last
you
the rest
don't
of your
have the
life.
money, people who can't afford a house, an RV can be their house. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with that. I think there does need to be better infrastructure for RV livers. There's a word for them. What do they call themselves?
RVers?
Maybe.
Full-timers.
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 Or something. There's like a whole community of people.
Yeah.
Some travel and some are stationary. And it's a huge complaint across this community that there's just not a lot of places to park. People are not that welcoming to
Right, because if you're parked in a
RVers.
campground, the idea is that you're like transient, that, you know, it's like people coming and going. So yeah, maybe there does need to be communities of full-time
there are
RVers.
trailer parks.
Yeah.
which would be similar.
It is similar. I don't know what the difference is. Like, what would they let an RV live in a trailer park?
I don't know
what the difference.
I don't know.
not
Because I mean, I
sure.
know normally like a trailer is like stationary. It doesn't.
Well, remember, because we had
move.
even talked about, we looked at
Yeah.
with Dad. We were like, should we just look at a trailer?
Yeah. Because you
And
can
there
get a
was a
nice trailer
difference.
also.
You
Yeah,
can.
trailers can be really nice.
Right. And we looked at that, but there was a reason that wasn't going to work. I think it was like larger and it wouldn't. You can't transport it.
yeah.
And I don't know. Yeah, it was just a more difficult. We even looked at tiny houses. That was the first idea.
Yeah. I almost bought
But
a
they're
tiny
much
house.
more expensive.
Remember that tiny house we went and looked at for me? It was so cute
They're just much more expensive and harder to move.
and smaller.
Well, I do think there should be better housing for everybody.
I agree.
Yeah. I
But
think
I
that's the main
also
issue.
am an elitist snob who doesn't want a bunch of trailer parks parked outside of my house either. Trailer parks, RVs. You know what
RVs.
I'm
I think
saying.
if you have room where it's not so obvious, like in this neighborhood, a cookie cutter suburban neighborhood where you barely have room to park on the street. Right now, we're at Megan's house and we have we've had to like eke out little spots on the street for parking. So there's obviously no room for RVs here. It wouldn't work here. Out where we live, like Hillary, Zoe, and I think we all have space where you could have an RV and hide it and it wouldn't be an eyesore. So I think it just depends.
But that's our story of how we temporarily lived full time in RVs. I remember last week you said that you had a story to tell us about poop.
That's right. And I am. Yeah. I'm
so
very
now
eager
that
to
we've
hear.
now that we've talked about how we handled our RV poop, I would love to hear something about your poop.
Okay, well, one time I went to Costa Rica and came
On my
home
honeymoon.
and thought- what?
I said you came on my honeymoon.
Oh, yes. Okay, one time
One time you were on the Peter and Hillary's honeymoon,
I was on my brother's honeymoon.
as you do.
And, when I came home, I thought I must have a tapeworm or a wild bug living in my stomach. And so I went to the doctor, and they sent me home with a little cup with a little spoon in it and said, take a stool sample and then drop it off at this place. So I took the little cup, I got my stool sample, I packed my bag for a whole day's worth of activities. This was in New York. It was a very hot summer day. I walked to the doctor's office. It was like 15 blocks away.
So you packed your poo. Is
I
what you're
packed my
saying.
poo,
Yeah.
ready to go. The drop-off place was not open on the weekend. And I
What
was
do you
not going to
do?
let this deter me. I was not going to walk 15 blocks in the opposite direction to go return the poo to the fridge.
In what
And so I
mechanism were you carrying the poo? Was it like in your purse? In a
was in my
bag?
purse, yeah.
Okay. Just loose?
But also,
So you can just refrigerate it if like you can't drop it off?
It couldn't be sitting in the heat for the rest of the weekend because if I had, it said on the like mailbox thing that you put it in, don't put it here on the weekend. It's not going to be collected.
but also just classic Zoe, just pooping and then thinking you can drop it off on a Saturday. That's such a Monday through Friday.
But it is New
activity.
York. I mean, the city that never sleeps.
I guess, but that's just such a Monday through Friday activity.
Well, I didn't know. They told me to do it and then to take it there.
Okay. So what
So then
happened?
I put the poo back in my bag and I headed downtown, and me and my sample had a full day. We went to a thrift store.
Your
We
sample
went to
had a
this little,
full day.
like outdoor garage sale thing. What was that called? In
A flea
New York?
market?
Yes, we went to a flea market. We had lunch together all day long. My little
Did you put your
samples-
little sample out on the table to have lunch with
Yes.
It's like
We
a
took
flat
photos
Stanley, but
together.
it's poop.
you?
Yeah.
Did you really?
Take photos together? No.
Okay.
But I still remember the frame I bought that day, and it came with like a really creepy girl in it.
Wait, what happened to the
So
poop?
what a special day you had.
Nothing was wrong with me, and I
You
am
live to
fine.
tell the tale.
Wait,
You
so
just-
did you just have to get another sample? Like that poop was a waste?
I'm not sure what I did. I might have put it back in the fridge and then gone and dropped it off on the Monday.
Oh my
Oh
gosh.
my
So it's
gosh.
probably not even a good sample. You probably do have
Right.
a tapeworm 10 years later.
Maybe, but also, now that I say this, I took a stool sample from my cat and dog a month ago. And again, I didn't drop it off. And so I put it in the fridge and
It's still in the
it's
fridge.
still in there.
Oh no. That's so not
That's
good.
just bad.
It's not going to be fun
Good
to come
thing there's
home
nothing
to.
else in my fridge.
Yeah,
Good
that is
thing.
true. But
And good thing it's not in the fridge your roommates are using.
Mm. Oh man, that's just bad, Zoe.
I wonder how long you can refrigerate poop. Has like a 3-day expiration date.
I mean, it's sealed pretty tight.
How did you get the samples? I never take the samples from my animals when they say you need to.
Wait, how did I get the sample from who?
The cat and dog.
What do you mean? You go outside
You just
where
collect
they
it
go.
from the grass.
I can't
You
do
don't get it
that.
from their butt.
I can't do that.
What do you mean? Don't you scoop it in a plastic bag?
Yeah, but I then couldn't put it in a cup and carry it around
Right,
with me.
you just like you have the
No,
bag
I have a
inside out
little-
and you just
I don't.
No, there's a little cup with a spoon on the lid.
No, you know. Spoiler alert: that if you just take your dog to the vet, they can like scoop their butt and get a sample.
But
This is so
they
gross.
didn't. I didn't take the dog to the vet. I took the cat to the vet, and they said, "Go get a sample from your dog and your cat and bring it back to us instead of bringing your dog in."
I'd be like, I'll be right back with my dog, and you can do what you wish to him. All right, guys. So are we ready to move on to our advice segment? See what questions people have for us this week?
Yeah.
All right. Hillary, you want to go first?
Sure.
All right. Let's get down and dirty.
All right, this is from a woman who says, I'm a mom of 2. I have a teen boy and a young girl. I have a lot of guilt for being a quote unquote mean mom. I can be impatient, yell, and argue with them way more often than I'd like. I'm so worried my oldest will graduate and I'll never be able to build a close relationship. Can you help?
Did she say how old her kids are?
Yeah.
A teen boy and a young girl.
Teen boy.
I'm assuming close to graduating since she mentioned graduating.
And she's
It's
worried
hard.
about being a mean mom.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard because mom guilt you just have literally no matter what. And we all have guilt for being mean at times. And we all lose our temper at times. And I think that's normal. And if you do, I think it's important that you then, I know I've lost my temper and then gone to my kids and been like, I'm sorry, I should not have yelled. I was upset. That's not okay. You know, and that's good for them to hear you recognize that and apologize. But I also don't know like how mean she's being.
Yeah, it's hard to judge based on this question. But like you said, I was going to say the thing that helps me when I lose my temper, which happens, and I'm short, and we all have our days and our moments, and we don't always control our reactions or react the way we want to in the moment. I apologize to my kids all the time. And then I'll sit and explain, and I'll say, I'm sorry I lost my temper. What happened was not your fault at all. You have no ownership of how
Well, sometimes it's their fault.
you control how you act, but I control how I act in response. So that is never your fault. That's always me. And just because you're doing something doesn't mean I have to lash out. So I mean, we have these talks a lot, and I think they're getting to the age where they understand it a little bit better. And then the advice I'm always reading on the internet is if you're even asking this question, if you're ever worried about your parenting, you're probably a good parent. Because people that are bad parents are not out there saying, oh, what if I'm worried about being, like I'm worried I won't have a close relationship with my kids, or I'm worried I'm a mean mom, or I'm worried about yelling at my kids. Like the ones that are worrying about it and asking the question are probably the good parents.
Well, and I will say also is when you think back to your childhood, do you like remember all the times your mom yelled at you? Like most of the time, no.
I do.
But in her journal.
Right, but I would say like most of all, what stands out are the good memories that you have. You don't remember all of the times that your mom was stressed out, had a short fuse, and lost her temper, you know?
And in hindsight, this is an unfair burden I think that moms carry because I was disciplined equally by my parents, and yet to this day, and as a mom now, I'm noticing that I remember so much more of the good stuff that my dad did, the fun stuff. And in my memory, I'm like, where was mom? And then I think, oh, that's right. She was inside packing the bags. She was buying the groceries. She was making the meals. She was doing all the stuff behind the scenes. No wonder he looked so fun. He was not doing that stuff.
Right.
So I think, and I have that happen now where I'm the one that's always planning, doing the birthday party shopping, packing for trips. And, it's easier for, I think, just the division of labor naturally kind of falls that way in a relationship sometimes.
Whereas you're like, Dad, get out of here with the kids and go do something fun so I can get all the work done.
Right. Take them for an hour to the park and I'm going to pack 5 people to go on a vacation or whatever.
Yeah, right.
So I think...
Dumb dads.
No, I just think maybe it's something I try to tell myself too, like trying to be more present in the fun stuff and carving out fun and not just being the one that's like the nagging mom who's keeping the family on the rails. I don't know. It's hard, but maybe looking for time to just have like fun time with your kids.
Yeah. And let's say she is being really mean and she's, cussing out her children.
Stop doing that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think everybody has things they need to work on and mistakes, and you recognized it, and that's the first step. And then if you're worried about your relationship with your children, talking to them about it, maybe going to counseling for your family or with your children. And if you've really like hurt the relationship, it's not too late ever to work on it. And so then great, you saw this and now you can get professional help and talk to them and also be accountable for your actions.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed.
Yeah, I totally agree with the not too late thing. I think a lot of people view childhood and it's like an 18-year period, but it goes on forever. You never stop needing your parents.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can always fix it.
Okay. Do you want me to go?
Sure.
Okay. Next question. This is actually an Am I the Asshole? My mom handed me her phone to text my sister something while she was driving, and I saw their previous text between them talking shit about me. I didn't scroll, it was just there. When it came up, my sister screamed at me that I shouldn't be snooping, but I didn't because my mom literally handed me the phone. I felt very gaslit. No apologies from them, and I'm very hurt. Am I the asshole?
No,
you're not the asshole if you weren't snooping and you just found it naturally. And also, why is your mom and your sister talking crap about you?
Mm-hmm. It's a toxic cycle. They say it's actually codependent, and a parent is parentifying you if you, as the parent, go to the other child about the sibling. Like if you're someone that's, as a mom, you're venting about one of the siblings to another sibling, it's really toxic and really manipulative and unhealthy. So no, you're not the asshole here.
Definitely not the asshole. My feelings would be hurt if my family was talking crap about me behind my back. And
we only do it to her face.
Right, exactly. Exactly. So no, I don't think you're the asshole, and I think that you should be hurt. And I don't really know how you resolve that because I don't really know what you do when you find out your mom is talking crap about you.
That's hard.
Yeah.
Definitely confront them. Talk about it. Let them know how you feel.
Right. And just let them know that you're hurt. Like you weren't snooping on purpose.
But yet, then you start another thread with your dad about how much they suck.
Talk some crap about them.
Go snoop through their phones. Yes, I don't think that you're the asshole.
No.
Your family needs to explain themselves.
Yeah, definitely. I would confront them and just let them know, even if they're mad at you, you're still hurt.
Next question.
Okay.
All right.
Oh, Megan, I think this was basically written to you.
Okay, I'm ready.
It starts with, how do I get my cat to calm down?
Oh,
My boyfriend and I recently got a kitten. For the first couple weeks, it was super calm and chill.
Yep.
But lately, it's become very wild and aggressive. It's constantly attacking us, fighting, always hyper, destructive. It's a complete 180 from when we first adopted it. We've watched videos, read articles. We've done everything we can think to help the kitten calm down, and nothing's worked. Do you have advice? We're exhausted, and we just want a nice cat. Zoe's
raising her hand.
Okay, well, how long have they had this cat?
It seems like just a few weeks, a month maybe.
Okay, kittens, once they get older and they're teenagers, like from 6 months to a year and a half, that is a psycho cat. It's like having a puppy. And people think that like kittens are just like, oh, play, fall asleep. No, they turn into like a teenager cat. Yeah. And they're terrible, and you have to get through it like you have to get through the puppy stage.
Or the toddler or teenage stage.
And
real babies.
And I sympathize with you because I am in it. But the only thing that makes my situation worse is I got 2 kittens at one time. Because you go to the shelter and they're like, oh, no, you should adopt kittens in pairs. Kittens in pairs is the best way to do it. They can entertain each other. But no. They just cause trouble together. It's like having 2 criminals in my house 24/7.
But you recently got cat pheromones, right?
Yeah, so I did read on the internet, because I was like, same as you, sister. How do I calm these mother effers down before I kill them? And everybody recommended these like they look like scent plugins, but they have pheromones in it that are supposed to calm your cat down. And I mean, I don't know. I can't say that they don't work, because how bad would they be if I didn't have 3 of them in my house? But maybe they work. Maybe try that.
Some cats are just higher energy too. I adopted 2 kittens this summer and they're pretty low energy. They just nap all day.
But you're not with your cats all day.
No,
So
but
you don't really know how wild
James
they
is
are.
down there all day with them.
Yeah, but you don't have the plants to knock down and the...
There's a lot of
I don't
toys
see.
and stuff on shelves though.
Yeah, but you're like in a safe space.
But he's down there with them and they're really like just napping in the sun.
Yes, but if they were up in...
I don't know what
your-
they do at night though.
Yeah, mine go nuts at night. And yeah, if they were in your living space where it wasn't just in like a basement play area where you probably wouldn't notice if toys were knocked off the shelves and stuff like that. But yeah, it's like every morning I wake up and plants are knocked over and furniture is knocked over.
But they've had the best night. You have the happiest cats, Megan. So
Oh my God, they're buttholes. They're not even
But
they assholes.
will grow out of it.
Yeah,
It's
that's
the
what-
same as a puppy.
Yeah, that's what gives me hope, is that maybe one day there'll be nice senior citizen cats that just want to sleep all day. But until then, I mean, you're just in it. Go get another cat from the shelter so that they can play with each other and keep each other entertained.
Put all your plants somewhere safe.
Yep, I only have 3 plants left in my house, and they're up on my mantle where the cats can't reach them.
Get some pheromones and then just suck it up.
Get an exercise wheel.
Suck it up. Let the cats be kittens and let them grow up, and you have to deal with it. You adopted kittens.
Yep. They'll outgrow it.
That's
Just
true.
get them toys, get them a little tree to climb, get them a little wheel to run on.
Oh, I will say, and I sent Zoe this week. So my official advice, look up One Fast Cat Wheel. I want to get one of these. It's like a big cat wheel that your cat can run in, and it supposedly helps with it helps them get their bad energy out. But Zoe said she didn't think it would work.
Well, not all kittens like that. Like, I think Bengal cats can learn to run on that, but you might not. Your cats might not take to it, and it's an expensive toy that they might not like.
It's true, but I mean, my cats are very
Bougie?
bad. Yeah.
Bad and bougie.
That's what I should name them.
Oh, you should.
You're bad and you're bougie.
That is perfect names. Can we change it?
Bad and bougie.
I love those names. Okay, I have a good question.
Okay.
All right. Lay it on us.
I am 39 years old and single. I have some coworkers who are a little too worried about my dating life. They are always asking me who I'm dating and wonder why I'm not married yet. I feel like I have to answer their questions and stand up for myself. Do you have any thoughts on navigating these conversations at work?
Make it really awkward and say something like, I'm just asexual. I love to because people are always asking really inappropriate things about when are you going to have another baby? When are you going to do this? Just make it awkward for people and they'll stop asking.
I'm the opposite. I just don't care what people think. Because as someone who is in her 30s and unmarried, so sure, sometimes people ask. I'm sure people ask you, Zoe, the same. But I just don't I'm living my life. I enjoy my life. Don't worry about it. If I'm not worried about it, you shouldn't be.
Yeah. I take that approach too lately. Just feel like just being blunt and honest, and then they kind of can't go anywhere. And honestly, I feel like that makes them feel awkward sometimes because I get the having another baby thing and why don't you want more and blah blah. And I'm like, oh, I would love to have more, but unfortunately, I can't because I'm sick. So
Yeah.
thanks. But no, it's like
put it back on them. People have been asking inappropriate questions for way too long. And I think if we just put it back on them with the blunt, honest truth or something that will make them feel like they're being put on the spot, they'll stop doing it. I don't know.
Yeah. And you can always ask them questions as well.
True.
A lot of people who are in relationships aren't happy.
Right.
Ask them about their sex
I
life.
was about to say, if they're asking you about your sex life, ask them about theirs.
Yeah, exactly.
Be like, oh man, I know I'm not married and I've just heard rumors that people stop having sex. Like, how often are you and your husband having sex?
Right.
And
I hear there's a rise in swinger relationships and marriages.
Have you guys thought about swinging?
Then you might sound like you're like advertising yourself.
No, also I would love to see Kristen and Hillary, who are like the two probably most polite people to people's faces, like go up to people and ask these questions. Like, tell me about your sex life, Karen.
But I will say I agree with you. Like, I am polite to people's faces, but I do have a lot of boundaries and opinions that come out when I feel like people are being inappropriate, if that makes sense. Like, people can trigger my boundaries where I will lash out in a way that's defending myself, and it almost comes across as harsh.
Yeah.
Because it's like I hold it in for so long, and then all of a sudden I'm like, you know what I really think? Here you go.
Yeah.
So I don't know. So don't get to that point. I'm not advising that. That's not good. Just be honest. Honesty is always the best.
And set a boundary, you know, too. If it's really bothering you and they're not stopping, then just say, you know what, I don't want to talk about this at work.
Yeah.
End of story.
Mm-hmm.
And then don't cross that boundary, and they'll have to learn to respect it.
Yeah, totally.
Absolutely.
But there are a lot of very bored people in corporate America who come to work and their main thing at work is just gossiping, getting the scoop on people, spreading that gossip. And it's like their reality TV. It's like what they do for fun.
Well, and also I will say this is that a lot of people just aren't great at small talk. And so a lot of it is just like, oh, hey, blah, blah, blah. This is like what people know to talk about. So they probably don't mean anything by it. Don't get offended by it. But just also feel confident in the fact that if you're not married and you're not interested in dating right now, that it doesn't matter. As long as you're happy, who cares?
Yeah, don't let their opinions or their questioning make you feel small.
All right, and that's all we've got this week. Thanks so much for submitting your questions. If you would like to be featured next week, be sure to submit your questions on our website anonymously at sistersnotsaints.com. You can also follow us on social media at Sisters Not Saints Podcast on Instagram and Twitter. And fudge, it's not Twitter, it's TikTok. We're not on Twitter. We're not on Twitter because we're millennials. So catch us next week, guys. Bye.
Bye.